In the spring of 2015, actor-director James Franco held a master session during the Atlanta Film Festival where he premiered two films, I Am Michael and The Heyday of the Insensitive Bastards. Franco spent the master session at the Atlanta Plaza Theater discussing his career. Let's take a listen.
I have a lot of different interests. I do a lot of different kinds of roles on a movie set. You know, I act, I write, I direct, and sometimes I do a few of them at a time. Sometimes I only do one. Sometimes I'll do large studio movies, or big comedies, or big effects films, or and then sometimes I'll do independent films that are very literary, like Going Now, and that variety, I think, is very crucial to being able to do all the different kinds of things I do. I guess the variety fuels itself in a way where, just as a practical thing, if I do one for them, it makes it easier to do one for me. Fortunately, I'm in a position where the one for them, is a movie that I also love. It's also for me, like something, like the movies I do with Seth Rogen or something, like those are commercial successes, and they allow me to, make riskier films, just because it raises my profile and all of that. But as kind of a practical thing for people starting out, I think that kind of model can be used on a more modest scale, meaning we have enough technology that's available nowadays that quality movies or quality projects, shows, internet things can be made at every financial level. Meaning, if you have good content, don't let it rot on the shelf for lack of tons of money. Like, just find a way to do it. And I guess that's my MO too, is just, if there's something I care about, just always find a way to do it, and use the means that you have now at your disposal. Don't sit around and wait for George Clooney or somebody to say, all right, I'll do it, so you can have $20 million. Like, make it for $20,000, make it for $2,000, and then you can make the next one for more if you're good.
So you spoke about the variety of what you do, and there's a role you create, there's a role that other folks create that you take on. Do you change how you prepare for them, how you get ready for them, for these different roles? This is a question from Amanda.
Yeah, as an actor, I every role is different, obviously, and because of that, they all require some different kind of preparation. I could just talk about a few specifically and talk about the differences. So, the two I like to compare sometimes are like playing James Dean and then the climber Aaron Ralston in 127 Hours. They're both roles that are based on real people, but they were very different people, meaning James Dean was an actor, so everybody knows what he looked like, what he sounded like, what he moved like, and now all of those things were also very crucial to our idea of James Dean, and so for that role, the inner life, reading about his childhood and losing his mom at age 7, and then when that happened, his father put him on a train with the coffin to go back to Indiana and live with his aunt and uncle. So essentially, he lost both parents at age 7, and I think that had a lot to do with who he was. approval because he lost his parents, and also kind of this anti-authority thing because his father rejected him. And so, and you can see that in the roles he played too. And so that was the inner life, but the outer life was just as important. So I'd work on, just getting the physicality down, practicing the hunt, practicing smoking, practicing, because he smoked in a very specific kind of cool way or whatever. I mean, it's crucial to who he is. If you don't, as soon as, that character hits the screen, it's like people are going to be like, all right, is he doing it? Is he doing it? And all of that kind of goes into it. So the physicality of all of that was incredibly important, as well as the inner life. You also have to kind of back up the behavior with, authentic kind of emotion and life underneath. And so for that role, it was about the inner and outer. For Aaron Ralston, people don't know what he looked like or how he sounded in the same way that they know James Dean. It's not what's really primary about that story or that role. What's primary is the experience that he went through and making that as authentic as possible. And so, and this actually wasn't my choice, it was Danny Boyle's choice, the director. Like, we didn't have Aaron on set during the shooting. Danny didn't want him there. We met with him, extensively beforehand. He took us through every step of the way of getting trapped and what he tried to do to get out, and then cutting his arm off, and how did you feel, and all this stuff, and what did you do exactly. But then we didn't need him there to kind of, after we got all that, we didn't need him there to say like, well, actually my arm was like that. And I always have a special tick, but like whatever. Like, that's not crucial to Aaron Ralston. What's crucial is the conveying the experience. And so once we knew kind of everything that he went through, Danny and I went and shot, and he shot it in such a way that I could have my own experience. I could go through all the motions that Aaron went through, short of dehydrating myself for real and cutting my own arm off. But in that way, it's not like I had to put on a performance from the outside. We could just go and do it, like really try to get out, really try to throw that thing over the rock, and so the behavior, which was most crucial, and going through the experience, which was most crucial, had its own room to kind of breathe and be real. And so like we could do scenes for 20 minutes, and I could just get really exhausted, and it'd be authentic exhaustion rather than, all right, and you're really tired of the scene, and action. I'd just be really tired.
Working on the various projects, either the ones that you're on or your own, do you prefer a certain scale production? Do you like the sort of setting of a real large group, or do you prefer to keep it real intimate, core? Or
that's a good question. I mean, I like all movies. I like all kinds of movies. When you say it like people say like a Hollywood film or something like, something like Oz, that I did with Sam Raimi, like, it's a Hollywood movie. It doesn't mean movies don't get bigger than that. It was like $200 million, I think, to make. Crazy amount of money. And, but I just look at it like, well, is it justified? Like, to create this movie, to create this fantasy world, you need that. You need the, it's justified in this sense. We want, if you do a movie about Oz, you want to be transported to this other land. And so that movie kind of justifies that budget. If, the one we're doing now in Dubious Battle, it's sort of like, well, if we had $200 million, I wouldn't really want to use it. Like, it's like bad karma. Like, this is about, like, guys on strike and, early 20th century, we don't have money, and fighting for money, let's do it down and dirty, and there's no reason, and some of these comedies that we do, the ones I do with Seth, they're smart, they learned their lesson. They did the Green Hornet, and they spent, $100 million or something dollars, and because of that, the studio had a firmer hand, and so they had to make it PG-13. And so basically, Seth lost his special power of swear words and dirty jokes, and so he couldn't do what he wanted to do. So now they're very smart. They're like, all right, we'll make our comedies at a certain budget. It's big enough to make the movies feel, not like, tiny films, but it's not so big that the studio's going to come in and, start telling them what to do. They get the freedom to make the movies that they would, how they want to make them. And so to me, I just always look at that. Is it needed? And if not, I might not do it if it's too big and it doesn't feel justified.
So
it's bad. It's just bad karma. You can look at it, you're like, oh, they spent that on that movie?
So we want to get into acting a little bit. So this question is from Bill Ogdenpool. As an actor and director, do you prefer in-person auditions or taped auditions?
As an actor?
Yeah. But both, yeah.
I don't really audition anymore.
Sure, no. But being an actor, as you cast, do you does that change how you cast? And is that
I mean, auditions are I've been through a lot, so I paid my dues, audition-wise, but they're any actor knows they suck. But it's just sort of, in some ways, it's just sort of a necessary evil. The director wants to, feel people out, and if a director, I do like using people that I know already. And if you just look at the cast of my thing, I've worked with a lot of these people before, or the big, big actors like Duvall or Vincent D'Onofrio are all people that I've worked with before, and then people from I've done Broadway with, or people that's one of my former students, people that have done other movies with me. Most of the people in the cast actually I've worked with before. So, and as a director, I just love that because, obviously for a lot of reasons that you can guess, you know each other, and it's not even yes, there's a kind of a shorthand, but what that means is that there's a shorthand because every director is different, every movie is different, and if you know as an actor, if you know a director, and a director you know an actor, it's sort of oh, I know your style, I know what you like, I know what you're going for, and you can kind of get that, and it's also kind of a trust thing, as an actor, in the film world, less so in the theater world, but in the film world, you are sort of beholden, to a lot of other people. You go and you act, and then you turn over your work, and then they edit it together and they put it together. So, as an actor, that does at every stage of the game, it involves trust. You just say well, I'm going to give this to you, and I'm trusting that you're going to make it as good as possible.